Hey you guys, so great to be here chatting to you guys again about some of these issues that are just becoming more predominant and more apparent that have been going on in for our brothers and sisters in the Black community. What we're going to focus on today is really highlighting issues for people of color all over the world, specifically going to the heart of what's going on in the fashion industry. Now this is multifaceted. There are so many ways that there's been exploitation or people have been taking advantage of. And I don't mean to say that in a hopeless way. Like I'm coming to you today with a message of hope because it doesn't rely on somebody out there. It doesn't rely on political stances. It doesn't rely on what somebody in an organization is going to actually do about this. It actually relies on us, and it relies on hearts. This is a heart issue. And if we can change the system of how we believe and what we think in our hearts, that is contagious and it creates change. So I come to you today to talk to you about some really hard stuff, but I want you to know that it is hope-filled. Each little choice, every little decision that we make is impacting these issues. And today specifically, although there's more issues we could cover, we are talking about racism and how it exists in fast fashion specifically today. So that's the topic we're going to cover. I hope to have more conversations about this. We are one human race. We have chosen, and I say we as a culture, ignorance, biases, personal gain and benefit to override the love and equality that each human being deserves. And so today we believe as a brand that hearts can be transformed and change can actually occur when that happens. So today, when we're talking about racism specifically in the fashion industry, I am going to be referring a lot to an article which I will be posting in our bio. You can check it out. It's from The Guardian. It's called "Racism is at the Heart of Fast Fashion." And so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Right now, so this article cites this, we're talking about people in the textile industry specifically, so not just garment workers, but textile industry. There are 74 million people working in the textile industry worldwide. And 80% of them are women of color, meaning they are not white, they are not Caucasian. That's why many of us do not know textile or garment workers, because they live somewhere else. That statistic came from Labor Behind the Label. That's where The Guardian got that information. I would recommend checking out that article as well, because women of color are mainly being exploited through the textile industry. So fast fashion brands have created a production model that keeps garment workers poor and working in unsafe conditions to maximize their profits, right? Most of us know this, but I think we should let that sink in. That this, now that what we're dealing with in the US, major racial unrest, we have to understand is also happening worldwide at other people's expense, because I want the latest and greatest at the cheapest cost as a consumer, which I even hate that term. But the economic exploitation that fast fashion is reliant upon is a legacy of colonialism. Like, we're gonna go back in history a little bit. So from the 1500s all the way till the middle of the 20th century, so that was not too long ago, European imperialism was a way to create extractive states and oppress non-white people. And this continues today with what we're talking about. Western consumers, that would be me, and that would be you probably, want cheaper clothes and brands that want to make larger profit margins. And this is absolutely an unsustainable model. We've talked about this before. There is no way to do this without harming other people. There is somebody paying the price for that cheap item at Target or Forever 21 or H&M, all places I used to shop all the time, without realizing who it was affecting. We should also talk about, I know I've mentioned this on here before, that COVID was a huge, very impactful in a negative way. So like both Bangladesh and Cambodia, brands that are refusing to pay for billions of dollars worth of clothing, worth of orders that they had placed to the suppliers. They did not pay their garment factories, which means they did not pay their garment workers. So could you imagine going into COVID in March and not having your paycheck for March? I mean, it is absolutely, it's downright inhumane And these are brands, you guys can look it up, but these are brands that we all know very well and that are very familiar, that are not choosing to pay their workers. For this to change, we need to have a heart shift that leads us to make different decisions as customers or consumers, if you will, that allows us the heart change to go, I am not going to support brands that do not give fair living wages to their workers. Now, a fair living wage is different from minimum wage. Minimum wage does not cover basic needs. It doesn't cover healthcare and food and education and all the things that you need just to thrive as a human being. Minimum wage does not do that. And in other parts of the world, minimum wage is way lower than it even is here. And we know that here, minimum wage is barely scraping by. There's a true heart change in our hearts where we cast a vote with our dollar and we say, I'm going to look for brands that care about ethical practices, that pay their garment workers fair living wages. And that is a way when the heart is transformed that we can actually move forward in action in this area, specifically put our foot down and say, this is what I'm going to choose to do. I'm going to buy secondhand instead of purchasing new. I'm going to save my money and pay more to know who's making my clothing and that these women are getting paid a fair living wage. There are many other topics that I'm going to want to cover. Topic of fashion and racism. Today was just a snapshot. We have so many other things and topics that we are going to be talking about as we move forward because there are many ways that people of color have been exploited in this area. And we would love to hear from you. What have you been reading or learning, or what has been new information to you that you would like to highlight? Please put it in the comments. We would love to hear and learn from each other as we grow. But remember this. You hold change in your hands. So if we're all looking around going, this is terrible, this is scary. It is. But I want to empower and encourage you that as your heart changes and transforms, it is infectious in such a good way to make these choices and have these conversations. So don't lose hope that each and every one of us making these choices adds up to very impactful, real change. You guys, support Black businesses, seek them out. I would love to hear your thoughts again, and we so appreciate you being a part of this conversation. We love you all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.